Do you know what this Australian pine, this oyster plant, and this torpedograss all have in common? They're all invasive plants here in Florida, and believe it or not, they've all set up camp in my yard and probably yours. How dare they? The trouble with invasive is they're not just hard to spot. They're a real big headache to remove. Take Australian pine, for example. Getting rid of them can cost a fortune, and even then, there's no guarantee they won't pop right back up. So today we're gonna dig into what makes plants invasive, how to recognize them before they take over, and the best ways to get rid of them. We'll also look at some of the biggest reasons these stubborn plants keep spreading and how you can make better choices for your own backyard. Florida has become one of the nation's top hotspots for invasive species. We're talking iguanas, Burmese pythons, lionfish, and of course, exotic plants. Right now, we have around 1,500 non-native plant species, and more than 100 of them are considered invasive. But how can we actually tell the difference? Let's break it down. Native plants are the true Floridians. They've been here for hundreds and even thousands of years before European contact. And over time, they've adapted perfectly well to Florida's climate, soil, and ecosystem. Plus, they play a vital role in supporting our local wildlife, like this native firebush. Non-native plants are the newcomer species. They didn't occur here naturally, but were introduced by people, either on purpose or by accident. Not all of them cause trouble, but they also don't give our wildlife the same benefits that natives do. From there, non-natives go in two directions. Florida-friendly plants are well suited for our environment. They don't cause much ecological harm. For example, this portocarpus. Invasive plants, on the other hand, reproduce aggressively and disrupt our ecosystems. Invasive push out native species, change soil and water conditions, and can completely reshape the landscape. For example, this Bishophia, which we're going to cover later. Here's the key thing to remember. All invasives are non-native, but not all non-natives are invasive. Let that sink in. All invasives are non-native, but not all non-natives are invasive. That's why the Florida Invasive Species Council was created. It identifies invasives and sorts them into two categories. Category 1 plants have already caused ecological damage by disrupting native plant communities. Category 2 plants are spreading, but haven't caused much changes yet. If they get out of hand, they get bumped up to Category 1. But how do we know if the plants in your yard are invasive? You guessed it, it takes research. Some invasives look very similar to our harmless natives, so you need to look extra closely. I like to take pictures of them and identify them on different websites, or sometimes I contact my local IFAS Extension office for extra help. Now I'm going to show you some of the worst invasives here in Florida, and I have just the right expert to guide us. Hello everyone, we're here with invasive species specialist Dr. Kim Moore at the University of Florida IFAS Fort Lauderdale Research and Education Center. Dr. Moore has been working with ornamental plants for over 30 years. She specializes in using natives and Florida-friendly non-natives to manage color in your landscape. This makes her the perfect expert to help us identify potential invasive species. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm so excited that you're here with me.
Thank you.
And we're going to discuss this very important topic. I think that living in Florida, because we're such a hot spot for many things, beaches, vacations, we are a hot spot for invasive species. And why do you think Florida is such a breeding ground for invasives?
Well, that's a great question. I mean, we have invasives everywhere in the world.
Yep.
But what makes Florida so unique is that we have this warm, growing climate. So we have sunshine, we have warm weather, we have rainfall, and it helps us to grow year-round. So we really don't get the cold snaps that will kill off
everything off
or knock down populations. So things continue to flourish. And then we have all these people coming from other parts of the world and the United States.
Here.
They travel. So we have our ports. So we have Miami and Tampa and around the state. We also have people just traveling, and they may have a plant with them and go, I don't know.
Let me bring that
I'm going to bring that with me. And then they're like, well, now what do I do with it? So I'll just put it in my garden, not realizing that it can just go whoosh and take over.
Wild. What are some of the biggest ways that invasive species are harming Florida's ecosystem?
So a lot of people don't think about their yard as an ecosystem.
Correct, because it's a micro ecosystem.
But it's an ecosystem, and you put something in that maybe takes over, it's going to change your insects. So good and bad insects, changes the water, how water moves, so it can impact stormwater runoff. I mean, if we have something in our yard and it impacts the Everglades, now we're impacting nesting habits of birds. We're talking about water patterns in the Everglades. We don't realize that our yard is connected to this beautiful ecosystem that we have right in our backyard here in South Florida.
No, and we also have to acknowledge that Florida has a lot of canals. Well, and they're all interconnected. So planting something in your area, in the suburban area of Florida, will ultimately affect the Everglades or us in the long run, because birds spread seeds. We have wind that carries seeds. And I like to say, sometimes that we carry seeds on our own.
Absolutely.
Because many times we can be walking through native parks and they stick to us.
And what do? We stop where we're at and we just take them off of our
Correct. And then we realize that we're helping cause this issue that is harming our, beautiful Florida landscape that we have here.
Absolutely. That's the problem. It's not that it's in your yard. It's that the potential for it to spread to the Everglades and some of our natural areas is really high. And that's where our concern is. So right here at UF, we're doing a lot of research on how to control different invasive species. So we have a lot of examples if you'd like to see some.
Yes, of course. Show us what you have so we can know what we're doing and making sure that we're making the right choices for our own backyards.
Absolutely. Let's go.
Let's go. So Dr. Moore, what do we have here? What do you have to show us?
Well, I'm going to show you something that's really common in a lot of people's gardens, and you might even have it in yours. And it's called torpedograss.
Yes, I have too much of it, and I'm trying to control it.
Yes.
And it's not fun.
It's not fun. So this is your normal grass. Okay, so this is your normal Florida lawn, your St. Augustine lawn, and you can see that it's growing straight up. So the blades go straight up, and you're going, okay, this is what my lawn.
And it comes straight down because these are the roots as well.
Right. Now look at torpedograss. So this goes straight up, but each blade is going out like at an angle, like opposite each other. So it's like alternating, so up, up, up. And these blades look like little torpedoes.
So they grow horizontally.
They grow horizontally, and this
goes vertically.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we've got this really long white root. Look how white that is.
Sort of like a little onion.
Looks like an onion. So this is a category 1. That means it's highly invasive. So we don't want this, and that's a problem. But the problem is that a lot of people go, well, I'm just going to remove the top, and they don't realize that it's attached to this huge runner of all these other. So they might only remove this part, but they've left all of this.
It's just shocking to me that this can grow as long as you let it grow.
Yeah.
What's the best way to control something like torpedograss?
The most effective way, and I hate to say it, is chemical control. Because a lot of people don't want to use chemicals in their yards, and we want to go all natural, and I respect that because I want to as well. But the herbicide is safe. It's a contact, so it hits the leaves, it kills it down, and then it goes down and will go all the way down into the roots, and it will kill the roots. It only kills what it comes in contact with.
Okay.
Now, there are other ways. So maybe you removed your bed and you've covered it for the summer.
So that's called solarization.
So if you were to clear your area, put on a tarp, and what it will do, it will kill if it gets hot enough,
it will kill it.
And we get hot enough in the Florida summer,
that can help as well.
And then you can turn it over. But this is one of these things that will keep coming back. So they're going to see it over and over again.
And it's hard to control.
It's hard to control. So Jeannie, I have another invasive to show you right over there.
I know a lot about.
You know that one?
Yes, the Australian pine.
Australian pine, yes. Well, it's across the way, but I brought a sample here, and So a lot of people like this. They like the look because it's got that wispy.
It actually looks very similar to our Florida native.
Looks very, very common to our Florida native. It's
Yeah.
not a true pine. It just mimics a pine. But what's different, so if you look at these blades, they look like they have little scales. So the leaves are round. That's a leaf.
Look how tiny it
But
is.
they're really tiny, and that's one way you can notice that you've got an Australian pine. That and that fuzzy kind of weepy look. So if you look at, I took this branch, it's kind of got that weepy look to it, and that's how you would identify it.
And what makes this species invasive?
So it reproduces and spreads really rapidly. The other problem with this plant is that it's really weak wood. So you have a hurricane, this is one of the first trees that's going to fall
down
or destroy a landscape. So a lot of people have these planted because they were pretty and they go, look how pretty this is.
Correct.
Around their house. First hurricane came and could actually fall on your house or fall into the street. So that makes them really dangerous trees to have. Yes, it's a Category 1 invasive.
Correct.
It spreads aggressively, but it's also could be a danger.
To remove them, how we can consider solarization, we can consider herbicide here, because these are very big trees. Yes.
So unfortunately, the only way to control this tree is to remove it. You have to hire a certified arborist to come in to cut the tree down.
And another thing that I do not like about this species is they create a monocultural area around my area. So there's nothing that will grow around it or under it or near it. So it basically blocks out our natives.
And it blocks out all the light,
Correct, and all the light, so nothing grows. And what's crazy, not even grass will grow under this. So that's how you know it controls the space. It doesn't want anyone around it, and it sort of says, I'm here and no one else will come.
Correct. So Jeannie, we're standing underneath another tree that you may recognize.
I do, and it is beautiful, but
it's a beautiful tree, but this is Bishophia, and it is another Category 1 invasive.
It's so hard to think because you see this tree and the canopy it provides, the shade it provides.
This is a great tree, I want this tree, but this tree is invasive in that it's got really messy berries. It drops a lot of berries, a lot of fruit, and it's got one of the most aggressive root systems I've ever seen. So this is one tree that'll send roots underneath your lawn, and you'll send little suckers up underneath your lawn. I had a Bishophia in my front yard and our villa grew underneath the villa all the way up and up to the drain in my bathroom at the back of the house.
This is not someone you want to mess with when it comes to.
You do not want this tree. Again, it's another one that in a storm, it's weak wood and it's going to crack in a storm.
I actually am experiencing the same thing you're experiencing. My home came with probably 4 of them. I can control them. Like you said, the seed pods are falling, they're spreading like wildfire, and it's very costly. So this is not something you can treat with herbicide or solarization.
But again, you're going to want a certified arborist
to come
in and remove the tree and to remove the roots or to grind the stump, because it's one that will resprout. And even if you grind the stump, you might see suckers popping up through your yard, either left over from the seeds or from the root system until the roots die.
Corner off. So Dr. Moore, is there any other trees you recommend?
So I would love to see a native tree like the live oak.
Okay.
Beautiful for shade, wildlife, beautiful canopy. And there are so many other native trees, and there are a lot of resources that you can find, native tree lists, and your local nursery will give you recommendations as well.
IFAS, Extension Office, is a great help.
Oh yeah.
I know you have more to show us.
Absolutely, let's take a walk over here. So here we have another plant I'm sure you're familiar with.
Very common here in South Florida.
Very common in South Florida. Another Category 1 invasive. This is the oyster plant. We basically weeded and removed all the oyster plant, and it came back.
It came back.
As it's very aggressive. Now, I can see why people like it. It's got these really pretty purple leaves.
Correct. We always hear that Florida doesn't have enough flowers, but this is probably what sort of makes people want to buy this plant, is because the contrast between the purple and of course our wild native coffee. I mean, it's beautiful, but this is aggressive. And I think every homeowner at some degree or in a space, in a park, has dealt with this. Or it sees it and doesn't realize how invasive it is.
I mean, I know I was told, well, it grows really quick, let's put it in. At my church, we removed it, put in a native frog fruit, and then they go, it's not growing fast enough. So they went back and put this back in. And I'm like,
that's a good point, because a lot of consumers want fast-growing plants.
Fast-growing, something that's going to fill in, give you a ground cover that's not mulch. They don't want mulch. They want something green, and it makes them feel good. In gardening, people want success. They want to feel.
They want instant gratification.
They want to feel like they're a good gardener, that they've got a green thumb. You apply something like this and put it in, it grows. And you go, I have a green thumb.
It's beautiful. It grows fast, but it's very dangerous and it's very hard to control. What's a good method to control this oyster plant or to remove it? You're just digging it up manually?
Pull it up. I mean, it pulls up really easy. We just pulled these up really quick.
Okay. Yep.
It pulls up. You're just going to have to continue to go
monitor the area
and keep removing it.
This one, we pulled it out and
you can already see
the new baby.
A little baby coming up. So as much of the root as you can get. I mean, it's got a really long root system. Try to keep getting.
That's like 12 inches.
Right. You want to pull up as much as you can.
So what do you recommend to replace?
Well, we have some beautiful natives, like the frog fruit and salvia.
I love the frog fruit because the wildlife loves it. My bees enjoy the
and salvia. So there are a lot of beautiful plants.
Stroke aster is another one that has the same patterns but doesn't have the undertone.
But has the beautiful flowers.
Correct.
And I would rather see flowers. But I think the key is that we have to be patient with our natives.
That's a good point.
Natives take time. Give them time to grow, give them time to thrive. They will fill in, they will look beautiful, but just not
aggressively.
Like that.
Just like our wild coffee here, that's native.
Yep. Okay, Jeannie, so you probably recognize this last plant.
I do. It's the infamous
Melaleuca.
Melaleuca.
And it's an interesting story because in the 40s and 50s, they were trying to develop the area, develop the Everglades, and they said, what can we plant that's going to dry up the Everglades? So we can then go in and plant. So they overseeded the area with Melaleuca seeds. And of course, being an invasive, it took off.
And it spread throughout the entire state.
Absolutely. And it's really aggressive, likes moisture. You can see its beautiful flower.
It does.
But the seed pod holds
thousands of seeds.
Yes. They burst and it's windblown and it's everywhere.
So like a windy day today,
you'd have seeds
everywhere. So
and
there's so much history on this tree, and there's a lot of management that in research has been happening.
Correct. So there are biological controls now. It's not chemicals, it's biological. So we have insects. They went to Australia to find the insects that
like a soldier
natural predators for this tree, tested it to make sure it wouldn't eat anything else because we don't want to eat any of our natives. And now they're controlling it. So it actually bores into the seed pods and into the bark and we have now control for this tree.
That's interesting. And when you say that, there's been so much research, but you haven't mentioned the air potato or the Brazilian pepper because they sort of fall into the same category.
Absolutely, and they're both category ones as well. Air potato is a vine. It's very similar to kudzu. Again, introduced accidentally. And we've got research being done with USDA with a beetle that will actually eat the air potato. So they have now found a beetle that they are releasing to control air potato. So air potato is another plant like Melaleuca where we've done a lot of research to say, how can we control it?
So how is the Brazilian pepper being managed?
Well, that's a hard one to manage because a lot of people actually like it when I know it's weird because of the
red berries,
and people happen to like it and they go, well, it makes a nice hedge, a nice shade, but we have other hedges, other plants. So again, we're working on other control methods, but a lot of people are like, but I want the wildlife, I want the birds.
Because it does feed the birds, but it's poisonous to some degree.
And it's spreading around the state. It's moving up the state. So we don't really want to encourage Brazilian pepper. Again, collaboration is looking at biological controls, insects that will control this plant as well.
These are great management tools that the Research Center, the IFAS Extension,
and with
USDA has created to allow a better management for these Category 1 invasives.
Absolutely.
Did you spot any invasives in your yard? Don't worry. As Dr. Moore mentioned, removals can be challenging, but not impossible. You can try manual pulling, solarization, chemical treatments, or hire a professional team. That's why it's so important to research Florida's invasive plant list early on, so you can catch them when they're still small and easy to manage. The tricky thing about invasive is how easily they spread. Birds snack on their fruit and drop the seeds in new places. Even tiny clippings left behind can sprout all over again. Sometimes all it takes is one piece, and before you know it, that one piece has spread like wildfire. According to the Florida Fish and Wildlife, non-native plants have already impacted over 1.7 million acres of our remaining natural areas. And every year, Florida spends, listen to this, $45 million just on invasive plant management. Isn't that crazy? But here's the surprising part. Invasive plants often keep spreading because we keep buying them without realizing it.
I think the biggest misconception is that if a nursery sells it, it's okay to grow.
And that's a really good point, because some of us don't know what we want to buy, so we rely on nurseries to kind of guide us.
And what happens is that a lot of nurseries, the buyers are not located in Florida. So something that might be an annual in Illinois is going to be an invasive here
in Florida
because of different growing environments. And so the nursery is not to blame because they're selling it. They have a blanket that they buy, but research. So do a little, so think about your yard. Do you have a wet area, dry area? Do you sunny? Then go and do some research. What are possible natives that I could put in that would fit this niche and be perfect in my yard?
I like to shop. So what should we look for when we're buying plants at nurseries or big box stores?
So go with a list. Know what you want, know what you're looking for. It's okay to ask questions like, if you can't find the exact plant that you're looking for, ask the people running the nursery, do you have this plant? And then you can ask, is this on the invasive list? If they don't know, you have your phone, look it up. If you or anyone watching has invasives in their yard, it's okay to remove them. But plant natives. Let's think about how we can swap them out for natives.
That's actually really good, because that's something that I'm taking care of in my space. My goal is to remove all the invasives that I have in my space. And over there, we're going to have a really fun game. We're going to swap some of the things that you recognize in stores that, you guessed it, they're invasive. But don't freak out. If you have these, we'll have an alternative for you.
So Jeannie, I see that you brought me the tropical milkweed.
I did, because I want butterflies in my space.
Everybody wants butterflies.
And the message is, buy milkweeds.
And this is what they're selling at the nurseries. Unfortunately, this is invasive. Category 2.
Category 2, which is the one with the it doesn't have any flowers now, but
it has orange or red,
yellow or reddish flower.
Yeah, really thick stem.
And don't get me wrong, the monarchs love, this milkweed,
but this is having an impact on their migration and really impacting their health. But we want our butterflies. So what's your alternative?
I brought in the native swamp milkweed, and this is one that sadly we don't find very often in nurseries and in garden locations, but you can ask. It's a smaller version of your tropical milkweed, and there's a big difference because here the flowers come in shades of white and pink, and the tropical is very obvious to tell the difference because the tropical has yellow and orange and red coloring, but this is our native one, and this is a great replacement for the tropical. This does great for those of us that want a butterfly garden, and you're also protecting the butterfly. On to the next swap.
Absolutely. Okay, so this invasive you brought me is a snake plant or mother-in-law's plant.
Because I love this plant too. This is a great beginner.
It is, and it grows really well. It is a beautiful house plant.
Correct.
This is a perfect gift when someone's moving into a new home or a house plant. And as a containerized house plant, it's awesome. But what happens is when you're done with it or you take it off your table, what do? We put it in our landscape. And that's when we end up with a problem.
It's highly invasive.
It's a category 2, so it will spread and it will fill in. I've seen it fill in hedges and things like that. So it'll get really tall, really wide, and really expand. So what did you bring for the swap?
I brought one of my favorite natives, the Coontie. The Coontie to me brings so much value to a space, not just because it's native, but also because it's a host plant for the rare Atala butterfly, and it actually does so much more benefit to our environment versus the invasive, the snake plant.
And people should be aware that when the Atalas are on it, you're gonna see it's gonna be loaded. It's okay. The leaves will all be gone because the Atalas are eating it.
Correct.
But don't worry, the plant comes back. It's so resilient. That's one of the best things about Coontie is that it comes back.
If you want a butterfly garden, this is a great alternative. It does really well in our ecosystem. And like I said, it's native. So buy the Coontie versus
the snake plant.
The snake plant. On to the last swap.
Okay, so this time you brought the Mexican Petunia.
Very popular Mexican
Very
Petunia.
popular. I see this all over the place, and everybody likes it because they like the green and they love the purple flowers. However, this is category 1, and this is highly invasive.
Highly invasive. And I'm always shocked to see how much of this plant is sold in our cities.
It's really popular, and it sends out, I mean, it spreads so
beautiful.
And it reseeds. And we've been trying at the University of Florida to make a sterile variety, but it's still
We're not there yet.
We're not there yet. So we don't have a sterile Mexican Petunia yet.
I think a lot of us purchase these plants, and I have it in my yard because it was there. And I try to take it out, and it comes back.
It comes back, but people, again, we're looking at plants that are being sold that are quick color, that
Correct.
grow well.
They're always flowering.
And people are happy. They're like, look how pretty this is.
Correct.
But not knowing that
how invasive it is and how harmful it can be for our ecosystem. But I have an alternative.
Let's see it.
And I have a very, very similar alternative, which I love, the Carolina Petunia.
That's beautiful.
This is the Carolina wild Petunia that, if you ask me, it's very similar to the flower. The color is exactly the same. The Carolina wild Petunia is a native to Florida. It is, in my opinion, actually blooms more than the Mexican Petunia.
I agree.
The Carolina is a little shorter. So it's more like a ground cover. But if you're looking to hide something, I would recommend the Skyblue Clustervine. If you see it here, I think it's beautiful. It's sort of very romantic if you ask me, but it has a smaller version of the flower. The colors are very similar, more of a blue tone, but this is also a great alternative if you want to replace your Mexican Petunia. And this is a vine, so this will climb, it'll eat up more vertical space versus more horizontal space than the Mexican Petunia, but then you have your ground cover. So you really have two options, and this is really beautiful next to each other. You have your ground cover and you have your vertical vine. So these are good alternatives for your Mexican Petunia. Thank you so much for your time and all your knowledge, because I think this is a very critical topic for many of us, because we want to make the right choice. We want to buy the right plant, and making sure that we use good judgment and research is key here. So thank you so much for that. If you're looking to learn more about invasives, definitely check out your county's IFAS Extension Office. Plus, I've left some resources in the description below. Removing invasive isn't always easy. It can be a tough and messy job, but every plant you pull makes a real difference for Florida's ecosystem. And once that invasive is gone, the fun begins. What are you going to plant with all that new space in your yard? Why don't you fill it with natives like this wild coffee or the sunshine mimosa or even the firebush, and before long your garden will be buzzing with bees, butterflies, and birds. Your local wildlife will love you for it. And if you want some ideas, check out my video on native plants for inspiration. Remember, when you plant native, you're not just gardening, you're helping Florida thrive. Stay rooted, just not like this Australian pine. See you next time. To keep building your native plant garden, check out the video below. Yes, click right here. I see you right here.